Book 39, Agriculture. Narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's Apostle said, "There is none amongst the Muslims who plants a tree or sows seeds, and then a bird, or a person or an animal eats from it, but is regarded as a charitable gift for him." Narrated Abu Umama al-Bahili, "I saw some agricultural equipments and said, I heard the Prophet saying, there is no house in which these equipment enters except that Allah will cause humiliation to enter it." Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, "Whoever keeps a dog, 1 qirat of the reward of his good deeds is deducted daily, unless the dog is used for guarding a farm or cattle." Abu Hurairah, in another narration, said from the Prophet, "Unless it is used for guarding sheep or farms, or for hunting." Narrated Abu Hazim from Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, "A dog for guarding cattle or for hunting." Narrated Aswab bin Yazid, Abu Sufyan bin Abu Zuhra, a man from Azd-Shanu and one of the companions of the Prophet said, "I heard Allah's Apostle saying, if one keeps a dog which is meant for guarding neither a farm nor cattle, 1 qirat of the reward of his good deeds is deducted daily." I said, "Did you hear this from Allah's Apostle?" He said, "Yes, by the Lord of this mosque." Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, "While a man was riding a cow, it turned towards him and said, I have not been created for this purpose, that is carrying, I have been created for sloughing." The Prophet added, "I, Abu Bakr and Umar believe in this story." The Prophet went on, "A wolf caught a sheep, and when the shepherd chased it, the wolf said, Who'll be its guard on the day of wild beasts, when there will be no shepherd for it except me?" After narrating it, the Prophet said, "I, Abu Bakr and Umar too believe it." Abu Salama, a sub-narrator, said, "Abu Bakr and Umar were not present then. It has been written that a wolf also spoke to one of the companions of the Prophet near Medina as narrated in Fatah al-Bari." Narrated Anais bin Amr, Aban bin Oz said, "I was amongst my sheep. Suddenly a wolf caught a sheep and I shouted at it. The wolf sat on its tail and addressed me, saying, Who will look after it, that is the sheep, when you will be busy and not able to look after it? Do you forbid me the provision which Allah has provided me?" Aban added, "I clapped my hands and said, By Allah, I have never seen anything more curious and wonderful than this." On that the wolf said, "There is something more curious and wonderful than this, that is, Allah's Apostle in those palm trees, inviting people to Allah, that is Islam." Anais bin Amr further said, "Then Aban went to Allah's Apostle and informed him what happened and embraced Islam, palm trees or other trees and share the fruits with me." Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Ansar said to the Prophet, "Distribute the date palm trees between us and our emigrant brothers." He replied, "No." The Ansar said, to the emigrants, "Look after the trees, water and watch them, and share the fruits with us." The emigrants said, "We listen and obey." Narrated Abdullah, the Prophet got the date palm trees of the tribe of Bani Nadir burnt and the trees cut down at a place called Al-Bawara. Hassan bin Abit said in a poetic verse, "The chiefs of Bani Lu'ay found it easy to watch fire spreading at Al-Bawara." Narrated Rafi bin Khadij, "We worked on farms more than anybody else in Medina. We used to rent the land at the yield of specific delimited portion of it to be given to the landlord. Sometimes the vegetation of that portion was affected by blights etc., while the rest remained safe and vice versa, so the Prophet forbade this practice. At that time gold or silver were not used for renting the land. If they provided the seeds, they would get so and so much." Al-Husayn said, "There is no harm if the land belongs to one but both spend on it and the yield is divided between them." Az-Zuhri had the same opinion. Al-Husayn said, "There is no harm if cotton is picked on the condition of having half the yield." Ibrahim, Ibn Sayyid, Atta, Al-Hakam, Az-Zuhri and Qatada said, "There is no harm in giving the yarn to the weaver to weave into cloth on the basis that 1/3 or 1/4, or any other portion, of the cloth is given to the weaver for his labor." Imam said, "There is no harm in hiring animals for a definite, fixed, period on the basis that 1/3 or 1/4 of the products carried by the animals is given to the owner of the animals." Narrated Abdullah bin Amr, the Prophet concluded a contract with the people of Kaaba to utilize the land on the condition that half the products of fruits or vegetation would be their share. The Prophet used to give his wives 100 wasks each, 80 wasks of dates and 20 wasks of barley. When Umar became the Caliph, he gave the wives of the Prophet the option of either having the land and water as their shares, or carrying on the previous practice. Some of them chose the land and some chose the wasks, and Aisha chose the land. Narrated Ibn Umar, the Prophet made a deal with the people of Kaaba that they would have half the fruits and vegetation of the land they cultivated. Narrated I said to Taus, I wish you would give up makabara, sharecropping, for the people say that the Prophet forbade it. On that Taus replied, O Amr, I give the land to sharecroppers and help them. No doubt, the most learned man, namely Ibn Abbas, told me that the Prophet had not forbidden it but said, it is more beneficial for one to give his land free to one's brother than to charge him a fixed rental. Narrated Ibn Umar, Allah's Apostle gave the land of Kaaba to the Jews on the condition that they work on it and cultivate it, and be given half of its yield. Narrated Rafi, we worked on farms more than anybody else in Medina. We used to rent the land and say to the owner, the yield of this portion is for us and the yield of that portion is for you, as the rent. One of those portions might yield something and the other might not. So, the Prophet forbade us to do so. Narrated Abdullah bin Amr, the Prophet said, while 3 men were walking, it started raining and they took shelter, refuge, in a cave in a mountain. A big rock rolled down from the mountain and closed the mouth of the cave. They said to each other, think of good deeds which you did for Allah's sake only, and invoke Allah by giving reference to those deeds so that he may remove this rock from you. One of them said, O Allah, I had old parents and small children and I used to graze the sheep for them. On my return to them in the evening, I used to milk the sheep, and start providing my parents first of all before my children. One day I was delayed and came late at night and found my parents sleeping. I milked the sheep, as usual, and stood by their heads. I hated to wake them up and disliked to give milk to my children before them, although my children were weeping, because of hunger, at my feet till the day dawned. O Allah! If I did this for your sake only, kindly remove the rock so that we could see the sky through it. So, Allah removed the rock a little and they saw the sky. The second man said, O Allah! I was in love with a cousin of mine like the deepest love a man may have for a woman. I wanted to outrage her chastity but she refused unless I gave her 100 dinars. So, I struggled to collect that amount. And when I sat between her legs, she said, O Allah's slave! Be afraid of Allah and do not deflower me except rightfully, by marriage. So, I got up. O Allah! If I did it for your sake only, please remove the rock. The rock shifted a little more. Then the third man said, O Allah! I employed a laborer for a farak of rice and when he finished his job and demanded his right, I presented it to him, but he refused to take it. So, I sowed the rice many times till I gathered cows and their sheep herd, from the yield. Then after some time, he came and said to me, Fear Allah, and give me my right. I said, Go and take those cows and the shepherd. He said, Be afraid of Allah. Don't mock at me. I said, I am not mocking at you. Take all that. So, he took all that. O Allah! If I did that for your sake only, please remove the rest of the rock. So, Allah removed the rock. Narrated Zayd bin Aslam from his father, Ammar said, but for the future Muslim generations, I would have distributed the land of the villages I conquer among the soldiers as the Prophet distributed the land of Kaaba. Narrated Aisha, the Prophet said, He who cultivates land that does not belong to anybody is more rightful to own it. Urwa said, Ammar gave the same verdict in his Caliphate. Narrated Abdullah bin Amr, while the Prophet was passing the night at his place of rest in Dhul Hulayfa in the bottom of the valley of Akik, he saw a dream and it was said to him, You are in a blessed valley. Musa said, Salim, let our camels kneel at the place where Abdullah used to make his camel kneel, seeking the place where Allah's Apostle used to take a rest, which is situated below the mosque which is in the bottom of the valley. It is midway between the mosque and the road. Narrated Umar, while the Prophet was in Al-Aqiq he said, someone, meaning Gabriel, came to me from my Lord tonight, in my dream, and said, offer the prayer in this blessed valley and say, I intend to perform Umrah along with Hajj, together. Narrated Ibn Umar, Umar expelled the Jews and the Christians from Hijaz. When Allah's apostle had conquered Kaaba, he wanted to expel the Jews from it as its land became the property of Allah, his apostle, and the Muslims. Allah's apostle intended to expel the Jews but they requested him to let them stay there on the condition that they would do the labor and get half of the fruits. Allah's apostle told them, we will let you stay on this condition, as long as we wish. So, they, that is Jews, kept on living there until Umar forced them to go towards Tma and Araika. Narrated Rafi bin Khadij, my uncle Zuhair said, Allah's apostle forbade us to do a thing which was a source of help to us. I said, whatever Allah's apostle said was right. He said, Allah's apostle sent for me and asked, what are you doing with your farms? I replied, we give our farms on rent on the basis that we get the yield produced at the banks of the water streams, rivers, for the rent, or rent it for some wasks of barley and dates. Allah's apostle said, do not do so, but cultivate the land yourselves or let it be cultivated by others gratis, or keep it uncultivated. I said, we hear and obey. Narrated Jabir, the people used to rent their land for cultivation for 1/3, 1/4 or half its yield. The Prophet said, whoever has land should cultivate it himself or give it to his Muslim brother gratis, otherwise keep it uncultivated. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, whoever has land should cultivate it himself or give it to his Muslim brother gratis, otherwise he should keep it uncultivated. Narrated when I mentioned it, that is the narration of Rafi bin Khadij, number 532, to Taus, he said, it is permissible to rent the land for cultivation, for Ibn Abbas said, the Prophet did not forbid that, but said, one had better give the land to one's brother gratis rather than charge a certain amount for it. Narrated Nafi, Ibn Umar used to rent his farms in the time of Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and in the early days of Muawiyah. Then he was told the narration of Rafi bin Khadij that the Prophet had forbidden the renting of farms. Ibn Umar went to Rafi and I accompanied him. He asked Rafi who replied that the Prophet had forbidden the renting of farms. Ibn Umar said, you know that we used to rent our farms in the lifetime of Allah's apostle for the yield of the banks of the water streams, rivers, and for certain amount of figs. Narrated Salim, Abdullah bin Umar said, I knew that the land was rented for cultivation in the lifetime of Allah's apostle. Later on Ibn Umar was afraid that the Prophet had forbidden it, and he had no knowledge of it, so he gave up renting his land. Narrated Hansla bin Qais, Rafi bin Khadij said, my two uncles told me that they, that is the companions of the Prophet, used to rent the land in the lifetime of the Prophet for the yield on the banks of water streams, rivers, or for a portion of the yield stipulated by the owner of the land. The Prophet forbade it. I said to Rafi, what about renting the land for dinars and dirhams? He replied, there is no harm in renting for dinars dirhams. Al-Ath said, if those who have discernment for distinguishing what is legal from what is illegal looked into what has been forbidden concerning this matter, they would not permit it, for it is surrounded with dangers. Narrated Abu Hurairah, once the Prophet was narrating a story, while a Bedouin was sitting with him. One of the inhabitants of paradise will ask Allah to allow him to cultivate the land. Allah will ask him, are you not living in the pleasures you like? He will say, yes, but I like to cultivate the land. The Prophet added, when the man will be permitted he will sow the seeds and the plants will grow up and get ripe, ready for reaping and so on till it will be as huge as mountains within a wink. Allah will then say to him, O son of Adam, take here you are, gather the yield, nothing satisfies you. On that, the Bedouin said, the man must be either from Quraysh, that is an emigrant, or an Ansari, for they are farmers, whereas we are not farmers. The Prophet smiled at this. Narrated Sal bin Sa'd, We used to be very happy on Friday as an old lady used to cut some roots of the silk, which we used to plant on the banks of our small water streams, and cook them in a pot of hers, adding to them some grains of barley. Yaqub, the sub-narrator said, I think the narrator mentioned that the food did not contain fat or melted fat, taken from meat. When we offered the Friday prayer we would go to her and she would serve us with a dish. So, we used to be happy on Fridays because of that. We used not to take our meals or the midday nap except after the Jumu'ah prayer, that is Friday prayer. Narrated Abu Hurairah. The people say that Abu Hurairah narrates too many narrations. In fact, Allah knows whether I say the truth or not. They also ask, why do the emigrants and the Ansar not narrate as he does? In fact, my emigrant brethren were busy trading in the markets, and my Ansar brethren were busy with their properties. I was a poor man keeping the company of Allah's Apostle and was satisfied with what filled my stomach. So, I used to be present while they, that is the emigrants and the Ansar, were absent, and I used to remember while they forgot. The Hadith. One day the Prophet said, whoever spreads his sheet till I finish this statement of mine and then gathers it on his chest, will never forget anything of my statement. So, I spread my covering sheet, which was the only garment I had, till there. Prophet finished his statement and then I gathered it over my chest. By him who had sent him, that is Allah's Apostle, with the truth, since then I did not forget even a single word of that statement of his, until this day of mine. By Allah, but for 2 verses in Allah's book, I would never have related any narration from the Prophet. These 2 verses are, verily, those who conceal the clear signs and the guidance which we have sent down. Up to, the Merciful. 2.159-160